Hey Froggy friends, Kirostyle here. Welcome back to my slideshow about my trip. Thank you so much for joining me here on stream. Welcome in. Kieran, congratulations on being first. Angora, hello, hello. Sai, thank you so much for coming in and thank you so much for the sub. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for 39 months of support. And Unknown Person, welcome in. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming by, everyone. We're starting stream a little earlier today because I know I'm going to have a lot to talk about and I don't know how long it's going to take. But we're going to go over the second half of my trip to Tokyo, which I was talking about last time on stream. So last time on stream, we covered day 0, 1, 2, and 3, which was, well, Arrival, Grand Blue Fantasy Fest, Tales of 30th Anniversary Museum, and Winter Comiket. So now we're starting day 4. So, like I said before, we were staying somewhere close to Ikebukuro, so you'll see us returning a lot to Ikebukuro between the different days. So at the end of day 3, we had some time to walk around Ikebukuro a little bit, but it was late in the day, so everything was like closing. So day 4, we finally have a chance to explore Ikebukuro a little bit during the daytime. Now, at the end of day 3, we also stopped by K-Books, and I found some items that I may have wanted to buy, including there was a whole bunch of Danganronpa stuff, but they were closing at the time and I was indecisive, so we decided we would also come back to that place today and make any purchases we might want to do today. So, day 4, we start by going back, Ikebukuro. Oh yeah, on the way there, I also just want to point out some of the things that I've kind of been seeing around in Japan. At some of the train stations, I've seen some of these little study booths where you can pay to rent them out and get a little quiet study space. I've seen stuff like this at my university before, although at my university they weren't paid. They were just booths they had in some wings of the hallways. But here it was a little study area if you want to, I guess, have a quiet place at the train station that you can't get at home, I suppose. And a lot of umbrella racks, of course, rains a lot more in Japan, and there's often places for you to put your umbrella or rent umbrellas or stuff like that. So that's kind of nice that they have amenities like that around. So also at the end of day 3, we stopped by Gigo, which is an arcade, a round 1 kind of place. And we saw the sign saying that there was going to be a Zenless Zone Zero collab, which was actually starting the next day. So when we came back to Ikebukuro the next day, we decided to go check it out. And so they had a whole bunch of different crane machines with Zenless Zone Zero stuff. So there's a whole bunch of these guys sitting around, and there's different kinds of merch. There's these they look like metal prints or t-shirts or blankets or bags or whatever. I don't know what they were. I'm not into Zenless Zone Zero, even though I see a lot of the artwork around. I have passing familiarity with some of the characters, but Kieran and Lork are fans of Zenless Zone Zero. Kieran says he's not as much of a fan of the game, but he likes some of the characters. So we stick around here for a while. Oh yeah, they also have like buttons and stuff like that too. More of these. So you can see here on the right, the specific part of the arcade that is hosting the Zenless stuff is particularly crowded. Everywhere else on the floor is completely empty, except for this one or 2 aisles where there's just a crowd of people all gathered about trying to get these things, because it was day 1 of the collab. It was literally new, fresh stuff. They also have acrylic standees, and so Kieran specifically wants the Manato acrylic standee. So he starts playing the crane game for a while, I will say, and these things are not easy to pick up. I think the strat is you're kind of supposed to pick them up by the loops, but they're not easy to pick up. They're awkwardly weighted, they're flat, they're small compared to picking up a box or a figure or a plushie. So Kieran's here for a while, and I'm guessing he will tell you more about that on his stream. But he is here for a while trying to get the Monato acrylic standee, and so I'm just exploring around, taking pictures, and there's a whole bunch of other people, and Kieran spends like a whole bunch of yen and gets nothing. Unfortunately. I think there's like a promotion thing where like if a staff member sees you spending like a certain amount of money at a machine, they come and give you like a sticker or something like that as like a consolation prize. But of course, there's so many people there, all crowded, and so Kieran, I think, only gets like one sticker because the staff member only sees him like do some of his things, even though he like attempts quite a few tries. I think luckily for him, like the machine that has like, I think most of the time for these machines, sometimes if you grab one prize, you can ask a staff member and they'll help you like exchange it for a different one from the same machine, because you can see there's a variety of stuff here. But this particular machine has the Monato one out front and forward, and no one else in the room is interested in getting Monato because I think everyone's there for getting the girls. So luckily Kieran isn't really competing with anyone to get that machine, so he has to like leave the machine a couple times, get more money, come back, like exchange more bills for coins, come back and keep trying. But no one's fighting him for the machine because no one else, I guess, wants Monato. Everyone else wants the girls. And in fact, it's so busy on this floor that there's a line forming as well. So like some of the people coming up the stairs, because I think this is on the second or the third floor, they had to form a line, and like the staff members have to like let people in because it was just so crowded. So unfortunately, in the end, Kieran does not get this Monato acrylic from the crane machine. To be continued. You'll find out the end of that saga in a bit, but that doesn't go so well for him, let's just say, and he could tell you more about that on his stream, which I'm sure he already has. Pavo, welcome to the stream, and Aru, thank you so much for stopping by. Amethyst, welcome in. Hunter, hello. Rainbelt, it's good to see you. Yeah, so Kieran can tell you more about his adventures with Monato and Gigo, but we spend quite a bit of time there, and we have nothing to show for it. Oh yeah, so I also took a picture of this because, like I said before, we stopped by a Lashing Bang earlier, and there's also like K-Books and Book Off, very common stores in this area, and they're all places where you can like resell your like anime merch, and they'll buy it from you, and then they'll resell it to other people. So it's like secondhand goods or used goods. So we see quite a few of these. We already been to like a few Lashing Bangs and K-Books. The reason why I take this picture is, like I said before, sometimes you'll see multiple of these stores on the same block or blocks, and you'll be wondering to yourself, like, why are there so many of them in the same area? And it's because each location usually has like a focus. So maybe one of them is focused on anime, one of them is focused on games, one of them is focused on cosplay, one of them is focused on idols. So that's why they'll have multiple ones in the same area, because each one might have like a specialty. Sometimes it's on the sign, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes you just have to go in and find out. But this is one of them, and I just took this picture because they had a handy map here to show you what locations you're going to go check out. So we also stopped by Book Off, and Lork specifically is looking for a game. He's looking for a game called Baroque on the not PlayStation, the Nintendo Switch. And so Baroque is a game that was on PS2 and that was ported to the Wii. I actually have the Wii version of the game, published by Atlas, and it recently got like a Switch remaster, but the Switch remaster is only Japanese, and so Lork is interested in getting a copy of this game in Japanese. So we go to Book Off because they have like a whole bunch of like a game section in addition to their anime merch and stuff. So they spend some time looking for that. Unable to find it, unfortunately. It's kind of cool to see like all the games they had here in Japanese and stuff like that too. I remember the first time I went to Japan, like I was trying to get a lot of games that had not been published in North America, because back then a lot of games would be Japan specific. Like the Tales series, for example, has a whole bunch of Japan specific games. But nowadays it's kind of nice. Most games get released worldwide at around the same time, which is really nice. Or I guess if you want to get a game that's Japanese only, you can also buy it online, but it usually costs you a little bit more for shipping and whatnot. But yeah, I remember the first time I came to Japan, I was very much trying to find games and stuff like that too, and now that is not as much of a deal to me, just because of the nature of things being worldwide now, which is nice. So more games. As Kieran and Lork are looking around for games, I'm just poking around and like just general anime stuff. I find these things, which I think are funny, these Marvel Q Posket toys. I don't know, they look a little uncanny. It's like they're trying to be like cute and chibi, but they're also like more proportion. It's just kind of funny looking to me, so I took a picture of them. Okay, so we go back to K-Book's game, and so I decide I want to get one of the Street Fighter standees. They have Luke, Jamie, and Ed, and they have really good art. Like it's still official art, but like it's really nice. So I decided to get the Luke standee. I decided to hold off on getting. I'm tempted to get Jamie, Ed, and Luke, but I'm like, no, I'll just get Luke. And suddenly, again, Luke has become a character that I have so much more merch for than other characters because I don't collect that much merch. So by virtue of only having a couple things of his, he's already like in my top 5, I guess. Again, I keep telling myself I want to go back and learn to play more Street Fighter and get better at it, but it's just a big time commitment, which I don't have. But I think it'd be cool, so we'll see. But now I have like 3 to 5 pieces of merch of Luke now, so I guess he is like one of the characters I have more stuff for. So like I say before, there's like an entire like aisle at this K-Books games with just Danganronpa stuff, like so much stuff. And I kind of want to get some merch of my boy Saihara because he's one of my favorite characters. And I actually don't have that much merch of him. So I'm looking around and they have quite a bit of stuff for him, but they're all like small things, like small keychains, tiny acrylics, like tiny buttons. And so I'm kind of thinking to myself, like, do I want to get these? Because again, they're marked up kind of higher. So a lot of them are pretty pricey for what they are. So you can see here, like they're organized by character, and Saihara kind of has like an entire column to himself. So I'm kind of like debating with myself, how much do I want to get? Because I like him, but he's not a character I collect merch of or have collected a lot of merch of. And I don't want to go down the rabbit hole. I feel like if I start collecting merch, then I'm going to need to get like more of it. So the other problem is a lot of the merch for him specifically here is not him in his normal outfit. It's like him in special outfits, like swimsuit, butler outfit, like anniversary outfit or something like that. And I kind of just want a standee of him just in his regular outfit, which they don't have, which on one hand is like, okay, that makes my decision easier, but on the other hand, it's kind of like, well, if I do start collecting stuff for him, I don't have like a regular standee of him. So in the end, I decide to limit myself and get 2 things. I get the swimsuit Saihara standee, which is like a full-size one, because all the other ones they have of him are like tiny standees, right? And they're like chibi, and they're in other outfits. And I decided to get the swimsuit one just because it's also like, well, when am I going to see it again? It's full size at least. I kind of prefer to have one of him in his school outfit, but whatever. Also, the nice thing is, so at this K-Books, because I guess it's a small store, like some of the items on the shelves are zip tied to the hooks. So you have to ask a staff member to come around and help you. And I didn't want to bother the staff too much and get them to go around and ask them to unzip like so many things for me. And almost all of Saihara's things are zip tied away, which means I'd have to stand there and be like, oh, can you unzip tie this? 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 So I'm like, you know what? I'll just get one thing. And this one was not zip tied in because it was a lower price. So I was like, I'll just get this. The Luke standee, however, is zip tied in. So I'm like, okay, well, I have to ask them. So I asked them. And at this point, Kieran has split up with us because he is looking somewhere else. And, we are coming to the store to buy stuff we already saw the previous night. So he's not with us. So I'm trying to ask them in like my very baby Japanese to help me out. And so the lady, I guess, is kind of busy. So she seems a little bit grumpy, I guess. So I'm trying to like tell her like, oh, I want this. And so it turns out that they don't unzip tie the thing for you. And I guess it makes sense in hindsight because zip ties don't come undone easily. And you can't re-zip tie something afterwards. You need a new zip tie afterwards. I thought she was just going to come and unzip tie the hook and take the thing off. But no, she's like, no, which one do you want? Specifically, which one do you want? So I have to like grab it and be like, I want this one specifically. And then she just takes a pair of scissors and then cuts the thing free, which I guess it works. Again, this place is like a resale store, right? So these things are being resold. These repackaged. It's not the original packaging. So I guess it doesn't matter that it's cut. I would have preferred if it was not like snipped away like this. You can see the snip mark on the little hole. But anyway, so she snips it and then she hastily she doesn't let me carry it around because it's like I guess it's zip tied away because it's one of the higher priced items. So she brings it to the counter and then gives me like a number and then tells me to wait in line. And then so I'm like she's kind of busy, a little. I say maybe grumpy. I can't really tell. I'm a little bit like, not to say flustered, but I'm kind of like out of my zone here. So I'm kind of like, okay, I guess I'll stand here. And so in the end, I decided to only get 2 things, which is fine. So this is my haul from this Cave Books place. So we go to find Kieran. He's at this place, Mandarake, which is, it doesn't really even look like a store because it just looks like a stairwell that goes down into like a shady basement. But so we go down here and he's looking for things. There's like a bunch of books and fan merch in here as well. So we go down and I find, well, Lorik helps me find, he points out this like Kira Yamato acrylic head only standee, and I'm kind of like, oh, because again, like I said before, like Kira's one of my boys and I've seen merch of him and I don't really specifically collect merch of him, and most of the time when I see the merch he's wearing like special outfits and not his regular one. So I see this and I'm like, oh, I'm kind of tempted, and I look at the price and I'm like, oh, that's not worth 4,000 yen. It's like, this thing's pretty small, it's like the size of my palm, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to, that's not worth it as well. Again, I see a lot of VTuber merch as well, and I'm not into corporate VTubers, so I'm just kind of like, whoa, there's actually quite a bit of stuff here. And everywhere we go, there's a lot of corporate VTuber stuff, not just at the anime stores and resale stores, but also like advertisements and stuff on the buildings and whatnot. It's kind of crazy. It's like, oh, like to be a corporate VTuber is quite literally like your face is out there, right? Your virtual face, I guess. Oh yeah. So we also find the Grand Blue graphic archives, a couple of them, like volumes like 1 through 5, I think. I already own a bunch of them, but Lorik was looking at them too. And I was explaining how like they come up with these books every year and they come with codes that you get items in the game, but most of them are expired and whatnot. So we decided to go next door to this place, which we passed by the night before again, nicknamed the Yaoi Dungeon by tourists because it's just a staircase that goes down. There's pictures of BL, and it's actually not specifically a yaoi store. It's a store that has like there's BL stuff, but there's also like otome stuff and like light novel stuff as well. So the thing is, like, when we go here, there's so many foreigners taking pictures of this stairwell because, oh, haha, yaoi dungeon is so funny. And I guess I can't say anything because we took pictures of it too. I mean, you have a picture of the stairwell here. It was hard to take a picture of it earlier because there's always people coming in and out of the door, right? And you don't want to get them in the picture. And there was another group of tourists there trying to take pictures of it as well. I think one of them was trying to vlog it as well, or something like that. And they're all like snickering to them. I was like, hee, look at that yaoi dungeon. Hee, let's try to take pictures of them. So like they're kind of, you know, being very touristy about it. So we go down here and we look around. It's very tight in here. The aisles are tiny and there's quite a few people in here. It's really hard to move around and find any way to even like move around this place. So we're like trying to walk around. I'm not interested in specifically buying anything, so I just look around, and so I take some pictures of series that I recognize. I see some Obey Me stuff. There's also like really expensive stuff in here. There's like giant cardboard cutouts of like anime figures, and they're like you can see this one. This one's like 44,000 yen. Like that's crazy. And then there's like framed artwork with like signatures or like original copies, and they're quite pricey too. The things down here are expensive, and I'm like, dang, like does anyone actually buy this stuff? I mean, I guess some people do. There's so much stuff down here. There's crazy prices. So like you can see here, like this one goes up to like 66,000 yen. Like that's incredible. That's crazy. That's crazy. There's also like, I also see dramatical murder stuff too, which I'm surprised that section's like really small. I thought it would be bigger, but I guess it's like not as popular as it used to be. There's I see other series that I haven't seen in a while too. Like I see like Hakuoki and like Code Realize, like series I haven't heard their names come up in a very long time. Their sections are actually surprisingly large. Yeah, so here's your Code Realize. I see some more cardboard cutouts. These are expensive. I think this one's the most expensive item in the store. It's 88,000 yen for this cardboard cutout. 88,000 yen. That's insane. That's insane. That's so much money. I wonder how long it's been there, because I can't imagine these are hot sellers, but man, That is incredible amount of money for a cardboard cutout. Oh yeah, I also see this. I don't even know what character this is, but I saw him with with Kuropi, and I was like, oh, that's a cute collab. Oh, to collab with Sanrio and get merch with Kuropi. So we keep going, and so now we decide to visit Sunshine City Mall, which is the exit of Ikebukuro Station that we go through. Is the Sunshine City exit because that's the direction we usually go to, but we haven't actually been to Sunshine City yet. So it's a mall. There's a bunch of notable things here, including there's a Sesame Street Market, which is the first thing we see when we come in. Pretty cute. Again, I love seeing like beloved characters that I recognize in Japan being sold with like wearing traditional Japanese outfits. I think that's kind of cool, and also just makes a lot of the stuff a little bit more like if you get it as a souvenir, it's like, yeah, this is from Japan. It's not just a random Sesame Street thing. It's like they're wearing like traditional outfits, which I think is really, really cute. We also find the Bandai Namco Cross Store, which is it's like the Namco store, but it's basically just a big store full of mostly gacha machines. It's so much of it is gacha machines. Bandai Namco has gone so hard into the gacha market, so it's very different from going to the Capcom store, where the Capcom store was like all just merch of their beloved series. Like here, a lot of it is like, I mean, Bandai Namco has their hands in a lot of IPs, so it's not specifically just games, but there's like so much stuff, and there's a lot of gacha machines, blind box machines, crane machines, like that kind of stuff as well. So this is kind of what the inside of the store looks like. It's kind of segmented into different like booths, and some of the booths have their own cashiers, and some of them are like a shared cashier. So we're only really interested in checking out the ones that interest us, so we don't look at absolutely everything. By the time we leave, it's getting quite crowded as well. It's getting closer to lunchtime. There's a lot more people. When we first go in, it's not too bad. There's not too many people around. So there's some Pokemon stuff too, which we saw Pokemon stuff at the Namco arcade as well, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I was just surprised to see Pokemon stuff with like Namco stuff, but they have it. I think these ones in particular are pretty cool. They're pretty detailed Pokemon figures, especially like Cerulege and Armarouge. Like they're pretty cool looking, I will say. Iris and Leon, welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by. There's like a candy section where they have like candy based after a bunch of the different series that they have. Oh yeah, we also find the Tails wafers, which we saw at the Family Mart, but they're being sold in like full boxes of, I think there's 34 different like cards you can get. So there's a full box of all, like if you buy the box, you're guaranteed to get one of each card, which is quite a bit. We do not purchase it, but I think this is the only Tails thing I see in the entire store, which is a little disappointing, but it is what it is. There's also a Trails in the Sky version of this too. We also saw these at Family Mart. Again, if you want to buy the whole box, you can get guaranteed one of each card, I suppose. But that's a lot. It takes up quite a bit of space because the wafers are quite thick. You'll see them later in the stream. I'll show you guys. I open up one of these, but at this point in time, we have not purchased any of these yet, and we have not opened any of them yet. Oh yeah, there's an entire section for Tamagotchis, which is pretty cute. There's like a giant Tamagotchi on the wall that you can play with and press and make it do things, but it was hard to take a picture of it because other people kept trying to, want to play with it, so I didn't want to hang around here too long and see, but it was cute. Oh yeah, these were pretty cute too. Like these Tamagotchi plushies, they come with like a little pillow shell to put them in that is like the Tamagotchi itself. Also some cute Animal Crossing stuff and Pikmin stuff. Little like notepads and other little like stationary things. So they have an entire section for Idolmaster Side M, which is pretty incredible. Especially again considering that Idolmaster Side M, like the game is discontinued. They end up serviced it, but of course their main priority wasn't always the games. It was like producing music. They're virtual idols, right? So merch and music is their main focus. So I was surprised to see so much of it still thriving, but I guess it is still popular despite the fact that their game's discontinued. So there's like a little like living room with a display. There's also like a like a diorama of like the office in the game. So in the game, I never played it, so Kieran explained this to me. In the game, right, you're like a producer recruiting the idols, and so when you pull the characters from the gacha, you're like pulling the resumes from like your office, and this is a recreation of the office in the game, which I thought was pretty cute. Mostly just for taking pictures of. Cherry, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for following me and being a froggy friend. Welcome in. There's like display cases with like some of their outfits, some framed images, some acrylic stands. It's quite a large area. It's quite elaborate. Like here, there's like 3 double-sided shelves of just their acrylics. So for each given character, there'd probably be at least 3 or 4 different acrylics of them in different outfits. Like each shelf would have all the characters, but in a different outfit. So if you had a certain character you liked, you could probably come here and get like 3 or 4 pieces of merch for them specifically, if not more. So here's another angle of the office. There's like doodles and writing on the wall or on the whiteboard. There's a sign telling you not to sit on the chairs. They're for display. It's cute. There's also a My Hero Academia area as well. This area is quite busy. The UA High School Open School. There's some like experiences you can do in there. I saw people lining up for something. I saw like a curtained off area where you can go into, and I heard like music and stuff playing. So there was something going on here, but I'm not into this series that much, so we didn't really check it out that much. I think the cutest thing about this area was the staff members were wearing basically the uniforms of the characters in the show, and you could buy them as well. I saw a couple staff members wearing hoodies that were decorated to look like these outfits, but they were hoodies, but they were supposed to look like the school uniforms. I didn't see them for sale, but I thought those were pretty cool too. So if you're a fan of My Hero Academia, there was a lot of stuff here for you to do. Oh yeah, we also saw these. These are from a gacha machine, and they had some on display. They're like little posable figures that you can paint, and they're like kind of rubbery, and they had an entire like row of them just dedicated to doing like wrestling poses, which I thought was actually really impressive, because these are actually quite elaborate wrestling poses for tiny little figures to be doing. I think I have a close-up of them here. Yeah, see, look, like they're doing like really elaborate poses. There's like an ab stretch. There's like a bridge maneuver. There's like an arm lock hold there. It's like, I was quite impressed by these, so I had to take a picture of them. Yeah, if you want to buy these, they came from a capsule machine. We also passed by Namja Town, which is like almost like an indoor theme park for these mascots or whatever. Again, we didn't go inside here. I just took a picture of it because it was cute. But it took up quite a bit of space in the mall as well. Like you can see here from the picture in the map, it looks like there's a lot to do in here. There was a Rilakuma store as well. They were very cute. So we go. Our main priority coming here was actually for the Pokemon Center. So we'd already been to the Pokemon Center in Shibuya. So this is our second Pokemon Center, the Ikebukuro Sunshine City one. So at the entrance of the Shibuya one, there was a giant Mewtwo in a tube. So at the entrance of this one, instead, it was like a Megastone, and there was like a screen where you can click on. There were like 6 Pokemon you could choose from, and it would put the Pokemon on the screen, and they would roar or whatever, and then Mega evolve. So here's a picture of like the Mega egg or whatever when it's closed, and then when Raichu pops out, if you click Raichu. I didn't want to take too many pictures because this was at the entrance, so it was kind of crowded. It wasn't as crowded as Shibuya. Shibuya was like incredibly packed at that Pokemon Center. This one was quite tame when we got here. As we were leaving, though, it was quite full. So when we got here, there was a short line to get in. By the time we were leaving, there was a long line to get in. So it was quite busy by that time. You could also look at Gardevoir. You could also look at Charizard. They were selectable as well. I don't remember what the other Pokemon were that you could select from, but I think there were around 6 of them that you could choose. So you can see them promoting Pokemon Legends ZA quite a bit. So again, more plushies, just like at the other Pokemon Center. Mostly the same ones, but some of them that you could not find at the other one, and some of them here that you, and vice versa. I took pictures of some of the ones that I don't think I saw at the other Pokemon Center. There were like the Starmie ones, which I thought were kind of cute. They're quite thick because they were, of course, like double layered with the double stars. I just like the Poliwags and the Poliwhirls and the Poliwraths. I thought they were really cute. The Vileplumes are kind of cute too. I thought the Ammonites were really, really cute. Their goofy eyes are just so funny to me. And there's like a lone Porygon here. Well, I see a second one behind him. There's a little Porygon there. Hey Juan, welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by. Oh yeah, they also have like cast forms as plushies, like different forms like cast form, which I thought was kind of neat too. So you have like the rain one and the hail one. Oh yeah, they also had a whole bunch of Rotoms and all the Rotom forms. I thought that was super cute. I love Rotom. So you can buy different appliance Rotoms. There's the oven one, there's the washing machine, the fridge, the fan, the lawnmower, or just regular Rotom. Oh yeah, there's also an entire shelf of Reuniclus and Solosis and Duosion. Another one of my favorite Pokemon. They also had a little model of Lumio City, which I thought was cute. Just like the model of Lumio City you see in the museum in Pokemon Legends ZA. Again, if you're an Eevee fan, you have a lot of merch that you can buy. These are cute. Little bags decorated like different Eevees. They had an entire island of just Greninja plushies and Gengars and Chandelures in the back. It was kind of funny because I saw the Greninjas on the shelf, but then they had like a specific island just for Greninjas. The Mimikyus with the Chandelures, also very cute. You can see some of the Lucarios in the background. Oh yeah, I saw this. It's like a sumo set where it comes with acrylics of different like fighting Pokemon, and you can put them into the sumo ring. And I guess it's one of those games where you tap the plastic ring and try to make your acrylic knock over the other ones. I just thought it was a cute idea. They had the hats and the bags from Pokemon Legends ZA. They weren't selling the jackets. I heard the jackets were like a limited time thing. Although I think in the near future they're planning on, or have already announced that they're doing reruns of the jackets, but they didn't have the jackets for sale here. I did see people wearing the jackets, which is like the Team MZ jacket that your character's given at the beginning of the game. But the only things you could buy here were the hats or the fanny packs. Oh, they had the Tatsugiri plushies, and then you could also buy a little board to put them on, which I thought was super cute. I love this little guy. He's so funny. Oh yeah, mouse hold cups, also very cute, very adorable. I thought this was hilarious. There was a giant plush Buzzwole. It was so large. I think it was the only merch I saw of Buzzwole. And then there were like backpacks. You can see I think the Cofragagus one is really funny. It just looks so goofy. Yeah, the giant Buzzwole just made me laugh. Some more Rotom stuff, some Deoxys, there's some socks. A lot of fun stuff at the Pokemon Center. Which, I'm surprised they don't sell Rotom phone cases. I think that's something they need to do. Oh yeah, they were selling like mega bracelet things, but they were all in boxes, so I didn't. Other than the picture, you don't really see what it looks like. Of course, my boy Greninja and my other boy Lucario, tiny little like action figures of them. I was going to buy one of these here, but then by this time the line was actually growing quite large, and we were kind of hungry and wanted to go for lunch, so I did not want to stick around too long, so I decided to forego this. Hey Lork, welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by. And Emergency and V, welcome in. So this was another display. Again, these are all blind box things. They're so cute though. They're such cute little dioramas, but again, I don't want to buy blind box things, so I didn't want to pay for any of these. And none of these ones specifically were ones that I wanted, but I have pictures later you'll see of other ones, specifically with Greninja. We also saw the Ghost Pokemon one from last stream, which was pretty cool. I saw this book. I actually saw this book on Twitter about a month ago before we left on our trip. The Pokeology book. And I think Lork actually bought a copy of this, but it's really cool because the book on the inside goes over like some of the information about Pokemon from like a scientific perspective, like as if it was like a science book or like a ecology book. But most of it's in Japanese, so it wouldn't really be that useful to me. And I'm not a huge Pokemon fan, but I thought it was cool. So after seeing them on Twitter, it was nice to be like, oh, hey, look, I know what these are. There's all these in person. That's nice. Hey, Ginger. Welcome in. Thanks for stopping by the stream. Oh, I also saw this. This was a really cool design. The Greninja with like the stained glass. I, again, kind of wanted to buy this, but the line was growing so long, I didn't want to stand in line just for a keychain and an action figure, so I forwent it for now. There's also Lucario, and you can see Eevee and Gengar. They came in different sizes, but I just thought this was a really cool design. I like it when I see like new art for the Pokemon that's not just their regular default art. This one was just goofy. I just had to take a picture of it. I don't know why Lucario is being chased by Magnemites and Magneton, but his goofy little face was just so funny to me. I guess it's because he's steel. So these are like little pouches that you can clip onto your Pokemon plushies. And there's a berry and there's also an Everstone, which I thought was kind of cute. So if you buy a plushie and you want to give them an Everstone or a berry, you can snap this on them. So we left the Pokemon Center. By now, the line was getting quite long. So both to get into the store and for the cashier. Outside the store, there's some dioramas, so I took some pictures. This one's pretty cute with a bunch of starter Pokemon on it. This is another one. There's my boy Froakie looking cute. Downstairs, there's also like an idol meet and greet. So there's a bunch of people like lining up and getting autographs and taking pictures with these people. The super fruit. I don't know who they are, but it was kind of nice to see like live events still happening and stuff. So right across from the Pokemon Center is also the Pikachu Sweets Cafe. It's not the Pokemon Cafe because the Pokemon Cafe is somewhere else, and you need to make an appointment and reservation for that. But this is the Pikachu Sweets Cafe, which is not really like a restaurant. It's like it's more of like a fast food where you line up, you get your meal, and then there's like some tables where you can stand at and eat, and then quickly leave. So it's not like a full-on restaurant, but they were doing Pokemon Legends ZA stuff, which of course is very timely because we just finished the Pokemon Legends ZA Mega Dimension DLC, so Hoopa is featured quite a bit here. So you can see all these cute little things that you can get. So I got these from their website, so you can get some better looks at them. Now, when we went there, they only had the Groudon and the Kyogre ones, but on their website, they show the Rayquaza ones, so I'm not sure if they just added that later. It definitely was not even on like shown on the menu when we went. So the Rayquaza one's matcha and chocolate chip flavor. Yeah, I wish they had that one. That would have been cool. Groudon is strawberry and black tea, and Kyogre is banana and lemon. So we are only able to get the Groudon and the Kyogre ones. You can also get a combo with them too, where you get like a Hoopa drink. This one, Hoopa's Prank Ruby Chocolate Frappe Orange flavor. So you can get a combo with that and one of the donuts if you so choose. There's also the like latte art with Hoopa and Gulpin. There's the Pikachu waffles shaped like Pikachu's ear. There's these Pikachu mango ice cream floats. There's other frappes you can get with Scarlet and Violet, so you can get the little like Scarlet or Violet shields to go on them. You can also choose the wafers with the different starters on them if you so choose. More latte art. Looks like they're all just different Pikachu designs. There's this one, I'll talk about this in a bit. There's the Poltegeist drinks, which were super cute. There's milk tea flavor and apple tea flavor. And other sweets that you can take. And hot milk tea. This place was great for decorations. More Pikachu sweets. There's an Alcremie vanilla ice cream. You can see Gulpin is featured quite a bit too. Really cute. So here's a closer look at the things in the display. And so at the tables you can eat at, the first table had a Hoopa in the middle, enjoying his donuts. And then the second table had a giant Gulpin ready to inhale some donuts as well. Very cute. So the Poltegeist thing. So if you order the Poltegeist drink, what you do is you go to this counter and they give you like a cup of like ice, and then you put the cup of ice underneath the Poltegeist, and then the Poltegeist, you have to like do like a ritual for it. You have to like clap your hands and say something, and then the Poltegeist will, it's like mounted to the wall. It will turn and pour your drink into your cup. Kind of just a fun little thing. So I had to take a picture of it. I think that idea is really cute. That idea is really cute. I think you could also buy, there was a merch area where you could buy the Poltegeist teapot or the Poltegeist cups, but I think they were sold out of the teacup. They only had they're sold out of the teapots, but they only had the teacups available when we went there, at least. So these are the donuts and the Hoopa drink. The Hoopa drink gave us all brain freeze. It was really cold. Like you start drinking it, you take like 2 sips and you're already like massive brain freeze. And I think I'm pretty resistant to brain freeze. It was, I don't know, it was very, very brain freezy. Maybe that's Hoopa's prank, according to the title. So the Groudon and the Kyogre donuts, I actually was originally planning on getting both of them, but I think I miscommunicated my order, so I ended up only getting the Groudon one. I think Lork gets the Kyogre one, but Kieran gets one of each. So we take some pictures of them. They're okay. The donut itself is pretty standard. The icing's pretty tasty though, although they don't exactly taste like what the flavor says. But they're okay. I think, obviously for mass-produced donuts that they have to quickly pump out, I do appreciate the decoration going into them. But the quality of the dough wasn't extraordinary. The quality of the icing wasn't extraordinary, but the taste was fine. It was a fine donut. It's more for the novelty. They make such interesting shapes, and they have like the little like white chocolate spikes coming out of them. In the corner of the shop, there was a little like Mega Dimension painting, so you could like sit in it and pretend to get sucked into a Mega Dimension. I saw some people going up and doing that. The trash can was also a Garbodor, which was really cute. Some more decorations. Again, a lot of Gulpin featured alongside Hoopa and Pikachu. And then on our way out, we saw there was a Snoopy store and the Mugiwara store. We didn't really look in those too much, but they were cute. Oh, more Snoopy stuff. Again, I like the combination of taking Snoopy and putting him in like traditional Japanese artwork and stuff like that too. Like him surfing on the wave is really, really cute. So back in Ikebukuro, we also passed by this place, which is really, really cute. The pet paradise, and they had a whole bunch of Year the Horse things for dogs to wear. So Lork buys some for his family pet. Also, something I want to mention that I kept forgetting to mention before is that in Ikebukuro and in some other areas too, we saw a lot of maids on the street advertising for the maid cafes. And because it was winter there, quite cold for them to be wearing those outfits. So a lot of them were wearing jackets over their maid outfits, but they were, I felt so bad for them. And I know they're getting paid for it and it was their job. And to varying degrees, especially at nighttime when you go, because at nighttime there aren't that many people on the street. The very few people you'll see on the street are a lot of these maids standing out there shivering, trying to advertise for the maid cafes. And some of them do it to varying like different degrees. Like some of them are very outgoing, like, hey, come in, master, come into our maid cafe, and they're handing out pamphlets. And then other ones are like holding up a sign and shivering and looking very meek and like trying to almost as if they're trying to shrink away. I felt bad for those ones, especially because even though they were wearing jackets over their maid outfits, a lot of times their legs would be almost bare, so they looked quite cold. And then there were also like guys on the street handing out flyers to go to their karaoke bars as well. They were usually wearing like bright red outfits. So the main event of day 4 was the Capcom Creation Museum. And we did not originally intend, like, we didn't plan to come to this museum beforehand. We saw it on Twitter, like, just prior to our trip, and we also saw signs for it in Ikebukuro advertising for it. So we're like, well, let's go. It's here. It's limited time. We like Capcom. It seemed pretty cool. So this day was more of a free day for us because we didn't have anything planned. So we decided to go to the Capcom Creation Museum. So this was in Tokyo Midtown. So we had to take the bus or the train to Tokyo Midtown, which is an area we had not been to yet on the trip. So this is the Capcom key artwork for their exhibit. And I think there's an exhibit in Osaka as well, but this is the Tokyo one. So it runs from December 20th, 2025 to February 22nd, 2026. So it's still open for almost 2 more months. And between the location in Osaka and the one in Tokyo, like I think a couple of the exhibits are a little bit different, but overall, the idea is still the same, and I think the merch is the same. So the key artwork features like Ryu, Leon, Dante, Mega Man, Phoenix Wright, and one of the cats in the Rathlos from Monster Hunter as well. And it's kind of funny because at the bottom it's kind of pixelated, so it almost looks like a sensor bar. Especially for the Palico, it looks like they're censoring him because he's like naked. At least that's what it looks like to me. So we hadn't been to Tokyo Midtown yet, and this area was very different than the areas we had been to before. It was a lot more like office building area. So this is kind of what it looked like, and we found some nice little side streets on our way there. Very pretty area. Very clean. Speaking of cleanliness, like I don't remember if I mentioned this before, but like in Japan, or in Tokyo, it's relatively clean, but there's also like a distinct lack of garbage cans. So if you have trash, you have to like just hang on to it until you get to a public restroom or home or something like that. It's not like, at least my experience living here in North America, there's trash cans everywhere, and yet it's still filthy everywhere. And here it's like super clean, but there's no trash cans anywhere. We also passed by this place, which I thought was just a nice little like traditional like Japanese restaurant sticking out of an office building with this like traditional architecture. I thought it was very distinct looking, so I had to take a picture of it. So like this was like the museum building where the museum was. It's a few museums next to each other and connected together. So it's not like this whole thing was just the Capcom museum. It was just hosted in the building. So this was one of the I think this is the neighboring museum tower, the Museum Tower Kyobashi, but this is not the building that the Capcom Museum was in, but this was a neighboring one, I think. Yeah, and it was New Year's Eve too. That's right, it was New Year's Eve on this day. Here's the sign, the Toda building. So we knew we were in the right place. It was very quiet too. Again, New Year's Eve, not that many people going out to visit the museum at, what was it, like 5 o'clock p.m. ish. So this is the inside of the building. It looked really cool. They had all these like floating staircases as a display. It was very, like, the ceilings were very high here, and it was very empty. It was eerily quiet, but it was pleasant. So we had to take a whole bunch of escalators up to, I think it was like the 5th or the 6th floor, to the Creative Museum Tokyo, which is where the Capcom Creative Museum was being hosted. You see here, my camera does not pick up, or my phone camera doesn't really pick up glowing objects very well, so there's always the bands appearing, but this was like a glowing sign with all the some of the Capcom concept art on it. So we go in, we pay for admission, and we're told, like, you can take pictures, you can't take selfies though. They have to be like pictures without your back to the exhibits. You can't like vlog or like film. There was one specific section, well, actually there were two specific sections where you could not take pictures, but everywhere else was pretty much fair game. So you enter, and the first thing you see is like a hallway where they're playing on a projector a whole bunch of Capcom characters walking across the screen. So we stop here for a while, taking some pictures, watching these Capcom characters walk across the screen. So we here, I didn't take pictures of all of them because there's quite a few of them. You'll see them later. But starts off with like some Mega Man. Of course, there's some Street Fighter. I was surprised that Jamie was included too. Like Ryu, Chun-Li, and Luke, to me, no brainers. I just was surprised that they included Jamie too, which is nice. Resident Evil. Claire was just behind Leon. She's just cut off here. I didn't recognize Chris at first because it's the Chris that you see in like Resident Evil 8. I thought he was just a dude. I was like, who's this guy? Who's this generic man walking across the screen? And then Jill followed behind him, and I was like, oh, it's Chris. Yeah, old man Chris. Like literally, he did not have that many defining features. So I was like, who? Ace Attorney. I saw when they posted about this exhibit online and they showed off the artwork of the characters walking. Everyone was clowning on the fact that there's no Athena, which I get it. I agree. We have Phoenix, we have Edgeworth, you have Apollo, you have Ryunosuke. There's no Athena. She is conspicuously missing. Which, like, if they included Jamie for Street Fighter, I feel like they should have at least included Athena. They remembered Basara, though. I was so happy. They only included Masamune and Yukimura for the walking thing, but I was like, yes, they remembered Basara. But, Capcom, I mentioned this before, it's very odd. They're really good at marketing their characters and selling their merch and stuff like that too. But if you look at their flagship series, a lot of their flagship series are not ongoing anymore, or at least have not seen an entry in a while. Like, obviously, Resident Evil is still ongoing. We're still getting, like, the odd Mega Man things here and there. Monster Hunter is still very strong. Like I said, Monster Hunter was like a third of the Capcom store. But, like, they have stuff for, like, Basara, Ace Attorney, Okami, even Devil May Cry, and it's like none of these series have gotten like a recent entry in quite a while. Maybe some of them have gotten like remasters here and there, but these are series that are very prominently featured in their marketing and stuff, and they do not actually have a recent game, which is kind of sad. But I understand like the game development side and the marketing and all that stuff they're all separate departments and whatnot, but there was a Mataratsu with Isun, which is super cute. And then the last character was Rathalos, comes flying across the screen. So the first area was the Capcom Games Chronicle. So they have like this timeline with the history of Capcom and a whole bunch of their like major events and games releases, but they also include like non-Capcom specific events, like the releases of various game consoles, the publishing of like the first Wikipedia article, the publishing of the very first YouTube video, the creation of like the internet. Like they add in some other like major uh time points that are not specific to Capcom just to give you some perspective, which I thought was kind of neat. And there's like little videos playing, there's little like dioramas and game consoles sticking out of the wall. It was pretty cool. You could tell that they really put a lot of stuff into this museum, as you'll see as we keep going. They also had like a compendium of game logos, so they have a whole wall full of the main logos of all their like mainline games and variations of them. Again, you see other series here that we haven't heard a peep out of for a while. Like I see the Astra's Wrath logo right there in the top right. And then they also had like family trees for like their major series and like which games came out and what order they're in, or which order they came out, or which order they come in chronologically. So of course, like Monster Hunter has a whole bunch of them. Resident Evil has a whole bunch of them. Street Fighter has a whole bunch of them. I thought the Ace Attorney one was hilarious because the Ace Attorney one looks like this. Like if you look at this picture, you would think that, oh, Kiro, you cut it off. You forgot to include the rest of it. No, this is all they had. So it just has a picture of like the first game, Phoenix, Maya, Edgeworth, and Mia, and then it just goes straight to the latest entry. And then on the side, there's like the prosecutor branch, and then there's the ancestor branch, and that's it. These are the only games on the Ace Attorney timeline. I'm like, but why? Like there aren't. It's not like it's only missing a few games, but it's like, why did they only include this? It's just very odd. It's just very odd. They also had dioramas of the main characters of each of their big flagship series. So they had like Ryu, Mega Man, Morrigan. Again, Darkstalkers, another series where we haven't actually gotten like a new Darkstalkers game in forever, and they still include it in all their marketing and stuff, like as if it's still going strong. So I didn't take pictures of all of them, but I took pictures of the series that we recognize. So they picked Leon to be the representative of Resident Evil instead of Chris, which I like Leon. And of course they go with his best appearance, his Resident Evil 4 appearance. We have Dante, of course. We have Phoenix Wright and Masamune as well. Really cool. You can like read little design notes about them. There's like the original art and the concept art for them. They even include a Mataratsu, which was nice. This one had a really cool little diorama too, the little model in the display case. And then they had posters of key artwork for a lot of their like main series, stretching back to like the old ones as well. And then they also had the game boxes for them in the display underneath, which is really cool to look at, especially like the old retro art as well. So we looked here to see like which games were represented as well. Of course, I had to take a picture of this one. If you know what this is, the Mega Man, the fat Mega Man with the gun. I was surprised to see this here. I thought they would try to erase this from their history, honestly, but it was here. Old localization Mega Man box art. I always think of Street Fighter X Tekken when I see this, because one of the DLC characters was Mega Man for that, but they put like fat Mega Man with a gun like this Mega Man instead of classic Mega Man, and everyone was really angry. I was super surprised to see Strider here, because Strider is another character that is very Capcom, but he's not really shown in a lot of their stuff. They're like, we played Strider 2014 on the channel, and I love Strider's design, but to my understanding, the reason why he's not included in a lot of things is because Capcom shares his rights with like a manga company, so they don't always have permission to use him. So that's why he's not front and center in a lot of things. But like most people know him from Marvel vs. Capcom, He also has a couple like background cameos in some Street Fighter games, but like Strider hasn't gotten a game of his own in quite a while, not including the 2014 reboot. But I was just surprised to see that they even had him at the exhibit at all, because I thought maybe they didn't get permission or struggled to get permission for him here. Because when I think Capcom, I think he's one of the flagship characters too, despite all that. So I was happy to see him at least here, not forgotten. They even had the key art from Strider here as well, like the old Strider before he got his scarf. So I was happy to see that he was at least somewhere. I took this picture specifically because I knew Aru would like it. They had some rival schools and Power Stone representation, which was cool, but not much of it, just a little bit. But it was cool to see it. Of course, they also had Devil Kings. So if you don't know what Devil Kings is, allow me to explain. So Sengoku Basara is like feudal Japan. It's kind of like Dynasty Warriors or Samurai Warriors, but better. I have to reiterate. It's like way better. So when they first came out, the first Basara game on the PS2, they at first didn't really want to localize it, or they were hesitant to localize it because, you know, it was like the 2000s. Localization wasn't really quite where it was here today. And so they were like, well, people aren't going to care about Japanese history. No one's going to pick up this game in North America and understand who Date Masamune is or Yukimura Sanada and the history of Japan, right? Like Wikipedia wasn't even like around at this point, or just barely around at this point. So they did want to try to localize it, but because they thought people weren't interested in Japanese history, they tried to change it into not Japanese history, despite not actually changing anything in the game. So they localized it and they changed it to Devil Kings instead of Sengoku Basara. And then all the characters were renamed into code names instead. So like Date Masamune was called like Blue Dragon, and Yukimura Sanada was called Scorpion, even though he has nothing to do with scorpions. I think just because he has spears. So like, oh, they're like scorpion stingers, but like all this imagery is about tigers, right? So they changed all the characters' names into code names, and then they erased any mention of like Japan and Japanese history, but the stages were still the same. So they just said that it was like, oh, it's a fantasy world that just happens to resemble Japan. Needless to say, Devil Kings flopped really hard, and we never got another English Sengoku Basara game again until Basara 3 was localized as Sengoku Basara Samurai Heroes, and that was the only other one we got in English, and that was actually good. But Devil Kings kind of destroyed the reputation of Basara and most of the hopes of us actually getting real localizations for these games. So I was just surprised to see that even here. I thought they would try to forget that this thing existed. So round 2 was the evolution of technology and ideas. So this was a lot more about the development of games. So it was pretty neat because here on the right side you could see there's a comparison of like the newest Ryu in Street Fighter 6 and like the oldest Ryu, and you can see him doing like animations in both of the games to compare them. And there's also a big like flowchart here on the side that talks about like the development of games and who's involved and what the process looks like between like artists and animation and motion capture and play testing and programming and all that stuff, which is really neat to see this kind of stuff because I'm super interested in that kind of stuff. Whether it's like the 3D side, which is on the left, or the old like sprite side, which is on the right. It was very informative, even though I couldn't really read everything, but it was cool to see. There's also a facial expression tracking area where you could sit down and you could choose from, I think there were like 6 characters you can choose from, and you could basically like facial track with them and basically like VTube. Basically VTubing with them. And again, New Year's Eve at this time, there were barely any people in the museum, so it was easy to get a spot and for me to take pictures of them when it was unoccupied, because normally I feel like there'd be a lot of people here in the way. So we tried it a few times. I tried it out with Luke from Street Fighter, and I also tried it with Lady Dimitrescu. I was surprised that she was an option, but I mean, they know. There were a bunch of other characters available too. I'm pretty sure Chris Redfield and Ryu. I don't really remember all the characters available on this, but it was neat to see. There was also a video where you can listen to sound effects and how they did the Foley artists recordings, which is really cool as well. You can see them like clapping wooden sticks together, or like there's a section where it shows them like chainsawing something in Resident Evil, and they showed them actually like chainsawing a block of ice to get the sound effects and stuff like that. I love Foley artists. They're so creative and so fun and very underappreciated. There was talking about like pixel work and creating transparency and how difficult that is for like old games. Again, very informative, very technical stuff. There was also a sound theater where you can go inside and basically they played various video game videos, and then you have like the surround sound, but they start off with like the old games where it's like monaural sound, and then it moves on to like all the fancy surround sound, and it gets like more and more intricate as you go along. So it starts off with like old school Mega Man and goes up to like the newest Monster Hunter, for example, with all the different ways the sound is portrayed. And they play videos from like Great Ace Attorney and Mega Man, Resident Evil, Monster Hunter, Devil May Cry, and it was kind of fun because we were sitting there listening to it, and they show the clips from Resident Evil 7, but they're in Japanese, so it's like Jack Baker is chasing them around, but in Japanese, and if you're used to listening to him speak in English, it's a little jarring to hear him saying things in Japanese, but it's so funny. It was also just a nice break because you could sit down in here. The rest of the place didn't really have places to sit, so it was a nice little break. And then there was like a pixel art station where they had a whole bunch of screens with touch screens, and you could make your own pixel art from a preset choosing. So they had like different difficulties. So there was like the 3-minute one, the 5-minute one, and the 7-minute one. You pick your character, and then some of them have different color palettes that you can choose from. And then you basically just like, you play fill by color, where you take your stylus and you click the color and then you fill in the blocks. And then you can take a picture of it and scan a QR code at the end. So I did the Amaterasu one, which is a 5-minute one, because I was like, oh, I don't want to do a 3-minute one because they look too easy, but I didn't want to do a 7-minute one because they look like they'd be too time consuming. But I'm pretty sure the Amaterasu one was more time consuming or like harder than most of the 7-minute ones, because Kieran did the Phoenix Wright one, and he was finished way faster than me, even though mine was supposed to be a 5-minute one. Mine had so many more blocks than his. And Phoenix Wright actually had like different color palettes to choose from, while Amaterasu only had one. You can only do the default colors for her. But it was cute. Unfortunately, also, my stylus was broken at my station, so it didn't always detect. And also, when I dragged the stylus, it like moved funny because the tip was loose. The rubber was coming off it. So that also added an extra layer of difficulty to it. So my wrist was kind of hurting by the end because I was trying to like maneuver it in a certain way that was a little unnatural. So here's my Materatsu. Apparently I tapped the wrong square 255 times, but I only took 3 minutes and 21 seconds. I got an S rank. So the next area is round 3, the real and the fantastic. And right at the beginning of this section is one of the sections where you cannot take pictures of, so I don't have pictures of it. And that was a very short section called Embellishing History. And it was specifically about Sengoku Basara. So they talk about how they took the historical figures and adapted them into the game. Strangely enough, they only had 3 characters on display, which was Ieyasu, Mitsunari, and Tadakatsu. I was very surprised they didn't put Masamune or Yukimura. I'm guessing the reason you can't take pictures of it is because it mentions like, you know, real life people and talks about like there's like traditional artwork of them as well, and stuff that I guess might be like difficult for copyright reasons. It was neat reading about it, though. They were talking about things like, oh, like Ieyasu wears a hood, but we know that hoods don't exist back in the feudal times. We really want to convey the sense of blah, blah, blah. And we want to make sure that when he moves and his different attacks utilize the hood in different ways, etc. Or like we wanted to make Mitsunari move a certain way to convey this sense of emotion. And like what were the key words we had when trying to take their designs from like feudal history and adapt them into fun, playable, recognizable characters for modern age that still harken back to their historical counterparts. It was very interesting, but we could not take pictures of that section. And then again, it was only 3 characters. I wish there were more of them. I think that would have been really cool. And then the next part was 3D scanning. So they had Nero's jacket from Devil May Cry 5, and then they had it on display here with all the cameras around it, so you can kind of see Here's a close-up of it. And there's a video talking about the process of 3D scanning and how, in this case, they did it the other way around, where they made the jacket in real life first and then scanned it instead of modeling it first and then making a recreation so they could better work with it, and how the jacket intentionally has like frays and rips in certain spots to convey like Nero's personality. There was a statue of Dante here, and the statue is completely white, and they have a projector on it where the projector shows you the process of basically texturing him. So it starts off completely white, and then they do like a color map, and then like a gradient map, and then they put the colors on him as flats, and then they put the shadows on him. It was pretty cool. They also had the same thing for Chun-Li. The Chun-Li statue, it's completely white. They have the projector going over it, and they show you like the texture mapping and the shading and the colors, and she comes to life right before your eyes. I saw photos of the Osaka exhibit of the Capcom Creation Museum, and the statues they had there are different. So this one, the one we went to, had Dante and Chun-Li, but I think I saw statues of other characters in the other exhibit. Like, I think Ryu might have been one of them. But that's at the Osaka location. There's also this section here, the essence of Capcomness, character creation manual. So here it explains how when they were making like the first Street Fighter games, you know, Street Fighter, the characters have weird proportions to make them exaggerated, right? And you know, I like fighting games, but I've never really been super into Street Fighter until Street Fighter 6, because I always thought their proportions were too weird. I always thought Ryu looked too much like a cylinder, right? I didn't really like that. I thought he looked better if he was more like Dorito shaped, but he's not. So the character proportions were always a little too weird for me, but they were, of course, very recognizable. And of course, I knew this was a stylistic choice. What I didn't know was they actually have like a manual discussing what makes these proportions the way they want them to do in what they call the Capcom style. So I don't have it in the slideshow here, but I actually take pictures of all these design documents. They're mostly in Japanese, but they talk about things like, oh, we want to exaggerate this part of the body. This is how we draw a torso. This is how we want the legs to look. This is the way we want this to look. And on the far right, there's actually a picture of, they actually have a physical book for Capcom employees to reference when they do this kind of stuff, right? So I thought that was really cool, because I knew that it was a stylistic choice. I knew that they consciously did this. I didn't know they had all these design documents internally for documenting that, and it makes complete sense to do so. There's a section about hitboxes, and they talk about hitboxes, and they explain how hitboxes work. Of course, if you're a fighting game aficionado, you already understand, but it was neat because they had these pixels on the wall, and they had the glass acrylic colored boxes where it would explain like the red and the blue hitboxes. There was a video talking about choosing different martial art styles for the original Street Fighters, and how they picked them out and how they created the characters to represent those styles. There was this diorama as well with Monster Hunter stuff. So it was a big, again, completely white diorama, and they had a projector on it that would project like snow and grass and water and rain and sunshine onto it, and it would rotate through some different seasons to show you how they could change it just through lighting. And then if you look at the screen, there was like an augmented reality Monster Hunter monsters like flying past, and the cool thing was like you could see the monster on the screen, but the monster wasn't in front of you, but you could see the monster's shadow. So the shadow of the monster was projected by the projector, so you would see the shadow of the monster like flying overhead in real life, but then on the screen you would actually see the creature. It was quite cool. Hey Mousy, welcome to the stream. Great to see you. Thanks for dropping by. Yes, we're going over my trip to Japan. This area is the Capcom Museum. Oh yeah, so here's another shot of it. In the augmented reality window, you can see the snow, and then in the real life one, you can see all the projected water and the grass. And the water was like flowing, and you can see like the shadow of clouds moving by. Super cool. So there's an entire section talking about like visual effects and how they do some of that stuff. Especially with Street Fighter, you can see that we're talking about like the way the visual effects work into their attacks and stuff. And all that. There was like a giant like augmented reality display of Rathlos where Rathlos flies in and like blasts you with fire and then roars and then it fades away and loops again. Quite cool. Because this is a photo, you don't really get it, but in person it looked very three-dimensional despite being like a flat projected image. They had a recreation of this area from Final Fight, like the subway level. You could sit on the benches if you wanted. Then they were talking about Resident Evil and different cameras. So they talked about like the fixed camera from the old Resident Evil games, and then the over-the-shoulder third-person camera, and then like the first-person camera used in 7 and 8. And there are videos talking about that and the different effects it has for gameplay. Now, the next section, we were not allowed to take photos of, so I just have a picture from their official website. But basically, it was like a little like mini haunted house walkthrough. So basically, they give you a flashlight. It's not really a flashlight, it's actually a sensor. And you walk through this dark hallway, and then wherever you point your flashlight, the walls would light up. And then if you shone your flashlight over like the windows or the lockers, then the zombies, the projected zombies, they were virtual, not real, would like rattle the windows and roar at you and shake and jump scare you. It was a very short experience, but it was cool and it was neat to see. And of course, it was to kind of show us the effects of these kinds of effects and whatnot. Hey, Cole, welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by. Thank you so much for the raid. Hope you're doing well today. Please go check out our friend Cole when you get a chance. He's super cool streamer, very chill, awesome gamer. You playing Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. Well, that's awesome. Twilight Princess is my favorite Zelda game. Hope you had a fun time. Feel free to sit back and relax or go take care of yourself after your stream. I appreciate you being here. And Ditsenol, welcome in. Yeah, so we walked through this dark hallway with the flashlight sensor, looked at some of the zombies. They tried to jump scare us. It was fun. Short experience, but neat nonetheless. So the last area was called Final Round, Passing Down the Capcom DNA. So they go over more design documents, and this area is focused more on so what makes these games like have longevity and what did they carry forth into future games. So they have all these like concept arts for Monster Hunter and Street Fighter. We even saw ones for older series that I didn't think they remembered, like Breath of Fire. Oh yeah, the Breath of Fire protagonist was also in the walking cycle at the beginning of the museum. You see some Mega Man design documents here on the side. This was really cool. There was an entire section just about backgrounds in the Street Fighter games. They had like the original concept art of drawing for the backgrounds of Street Fighter and what they look like. More design documents for characters of Street Fighter at varying stages of completion. And then this area, this was the motion capture mirror. So I showed you we had the motion capture mirrors for the facial tracking. This one was for full body tracking. And I didn't take a picture or video of myself doing it, but Kieran did take one of himself. But this is what it looked like. Again, because it was New Year's Eve and the museum was mostly empty, I had the freedom to take the pictures without anyone in the frame. This one only had 3 characters to choose from. You could do Ryu, Mega Man, or Phoenix Wright. So you basically choose your character and then you basically motion capture with them like as if you were a 3D VTuber. And for each one, a character like walks you through a tutorial. So for Ryu, it was Luke. For Mega Man, it was Zero, I think. And then for Phoenix Wright, it was Miles Edgeworth. And so they do things like, this is how you should move your body. Try pointing. Try moving this. Try moving your head. The funniest part about this section was, unlike the facial tracking area we did earlier, this one did not have facial tracking. It was just body tracking. So even though you were moving around, your character would have like the most expressionless face possible. Like Phoenix looks so funny because his face was just completely plain. Ryu looked completely plain as well. Despite the fact that Ryu was the most detailed model of the 3, he felt like he moved the most awkwardly because the range of motion wasn't perfect, and because he was so detailed, the way his muscles moved looked kind of funny. Although you did see some little details, like for example, like the stretching of his skin and his pecs and stuff was on his model because it's a more detailed one. which is neat. So I did Ryu, Lork did Mega Man, and Kieran did Phoenix Wright. And then after we finished, Kieran wanted to do another round of it as Phoenix Wright so that we could record him. So he made a video. He showed it on his stream, so you can go watch it on his channel, I believe. While he did that, I went back and also did Phoenix Wright just to see what different characters look like. It's nice because I think they also picked these 3 characters because they all have very iconic poses. So at the end of the session, they go like, okay, now strike their signature pose. So for Ryu, it's the Hadoken pose. For Mega Man, it's like the blaster pose. And then for Phoenix Wright, obviously, it's the objection pose. Kenji, welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by. It's good to see you. So this is a picture from their official website of what that looks like. So you stand in front of the camera and you do various motions with the characters. And then you end off with their signature move. Pretty fun, pretty fun. Oh no, it wasn't Zero. It was Dr. Light for Mega Man. It shows Ryunosuke here in the corner for Phoenix, so I'm pretty sure I didn't see him, though. I think it was just Edgeworth for the whole thing. More design documents, this time for like rival schools. Again, I took this picture for Aru. I was like, I'm sure Aru will appreciate this. So the very last section was a whole bunch of videos playing with interviews from various Capcom producers, executives, artists, etc., where they asked them about their projects and their games and what their visions were. Also in the same room, oh, yeah, so I took a picture of this one because it has Kazunori, the artist behind the latest Ace Attorney games. It also featured Takuro Fuse, and they mentioned Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom for this one. I was very surprised. I wasn't sure if we'd even see any mention of Marvel vs. Capcom, because Marvel vs. Capcom has a very storied history, but because they jointly own it with Marvel, I can see why it's not featured in the museum. So in the same room as the interviews was also this courtroom setup. So you can go and take photos of yourself pretending to be Phoenix Wright or Miles Edgeworth, and they had little speech bubbles you could hold up to do like your objection signs. That was pretty fun. I'm glad they saved this towards the end. I'm glad they included it. We took a lot of fun pictures. And then there's also this area, the Your Capcom story. So basically, you could take a piece of paper. I think I take a picture of it here, where you can write a message or draw a picture, basically thanking Capcom or saying what your favorite Capcom moment was, etc. And they have ones featured on the wall here. Now, you don't, when you finish yours, you don't just hang it on the wall. For a lot of the places we went to that had this kind of stuff, you draw on the paper or the post-it note, and then you could put it on the wall. For here, you actually submit it into a box, and they choose which ones they want to display. So a lot of the ones on display here are quite nice, and if you look closely, some of them are signed by actual Capcom executives. Like I think we saw one by Kazunori. So some of these are like the actual people behind the games drawing the pictures. Because you notice at the station, there's only like pens and pencils, but some of the pictures here are in color, which means people brought their own colored pencils or something like that, which I guess would only be for like the executives and people that came by. And some of the artwork was really cool. So yeah, here. Please share with us your Capcom-related stories and illustrations. Write or draw about the games, characters, exhibition, or even your message to Capcom. It'll be displayed on the memorial board, so please place your complete sheet in the box provided. All rights, belong to Capcom. We may not be able to display all of them. Refrain from filling personal information. Refrain from taking the form home. Fill out one per person. Share the space. Put the pencil back. Like, yeah, you can see some of these. And again, like some of the more detailed ones that have like a lot more professional looking art, are signed by actual Capcom artists, which explains why they're so much more detailed and why they have color. They probably had more prep time to draw these and bring them back. But it was really cool. You could see a variety of different people saying different things. Oh yeah, so at the end there was the gift shop, and we weren't allowed to take pictures of the things in the gift shop, but they have pictures of some of them on the website. Most of the art in the gift shop was based after the character walk cycles from the beginning of the exhibit, or the key artwork that I showed you earlier with like Ryu, Leon, Dante, Phoenix, and Rathalos. So this is little postcards you can get of all the character walking pictures that we saw. So you can see some of the ones I did not take the pictures of. Like you can see like Arthur in Firebrand here, for example, or the Breath of Fire characters, or Dino Crisis. They remember Dino Crisis. There's also the one in like the bottom left with that, which I think is like a Japanese only like visual novel game. So I didn't recognize that character. You can get like postcards of these characters. You can get like washi tape of these characters all walking in a row. You can get little standees of these characters walking. You can get a lot of different types of merch using the same type of artwork in different ways. I bought a copy of the art book, so they were selling the art book. And the art book was pretty cool because it actually, when I checked it later, it actually goes over everything in the exhibit. So everything I talked to you guys about today is in this art book somehow with the artwork and the accompanying text, which is pretty cool. So it's almost like you have the museum to take home with you. Now, the funny thing about this artwork, or this art book, was that you can buy the art book by itself, or you can buy it with a sleeve. And the sleeve is this. It's the pixelated sensor thing. So you can see here, like when you put them together, it completes the picture and looks like the promotional artwork with the pixelation on the bottom and the sketch of Rathalos' tail. But here, you could separate them. So you can either buy them separately, or you can buy the... for some reason, you could also buy the book without the sleeve, but you could also buy the sleeve without the book, which I don't imagine why anyone would want to buy the sleeve without the book, but you could if you wanted to. Yeah, the Palico really is naked. But I bought them both together. I thought it was cool. Hey, Ava. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for dropping by. So as we were leaving the merch store, and I apologize, this picture is blurry because I didn't realize it was blurry at the time that I took it, we saw the sign advertising a Capcom food festival. And I thought, because when I hear the word food festival, I think, oh, it's an event happening on a specific day. And then we look closer, and there was a time frame, and that included the day that we were there at the time. So we're like, wait, this thing's happening right now. Is it in this building? Where is it? And little did we know, we looked down the corridor, and there was a cafe at the end of the corridor. It was kind of tucked away. And so basically they were serving these. And so we're like, well, we have to go, right? We're here at the Capcom Museum. We should go eat at the cafe. So we go down to the cafe, and it's like 7:10 p.m. at this time. So this is what the cafe looks like. There's like a little takeout counter at the front. Of course, there's like no one here. It's New Year's Eve. It's dark. It's late at night. There's like no one else here. There's like one other group of people at one of the tables. And we're like, oh, cool. Like there's stuff here. We haven't had dinner yet. Maybe this will be a cool place to come have dinner. And so as we're looking at the menu, a guy comes out and he tells us in Japanese that, oh, so the place closes at 8. We were there at 7:10, and he basically told us the kitchen's closed now, but if you want, you could order the drinks. We can still serve you drinks. So we're like, oh, okay, well, nothing can be done about it. Sure, let's order some drinks. So we're standing at the takeout counter trying to decide what drinks to have. And I guess the guy's manager comes out, and he obviously can tell that we're tourists and foreigners. And so he very politely tells us, hey, if you guys order really quickly, even though the kitchen's closed, we can still serve you. And we're like, well, yeah, thank you so much. And again, like I said, this entire like stream, our entire trip has been some kind of like whim of fate. Like everywhere we went, things would happen by pure chance that would allow us to do things that normally we would not be able to. Like, for example, buying the Grand Blue merch at Grand Blue Fest, for example, or running into our Grand Blue Fest friends at Comic-Con, or getting into Comic-Con and getting those PM on-site bracelets. Like everything was so perfectly timed from just a pure random fate RNG standpoint. So we get here and the guy offers to let us order the food. So we were like, whoa, like sure, yes, please. So we quickly go and get ourselves seated and we quickly make our orders. Luckily the menu is pretty small. Yeah, the stars were really aligning for us. It was crazy. So here's some pictures of the menu. There aren't that many items, but they're all obviously like Capcom themed, and there's some coasters that you can get too. So I took some pictures. Here's like the desserts, which are not listed elsewhere. I went to the website and I found the actual picture of them so you can have a better look at them. So they have like a few different dishes that are the main dishes. So of course you have the Mega Man fighting the Yellow Devil, which I thought was really cool. even if you only know Mega Man and the Yellow Devil through like Super Smash Bros, like I think this is really cool. There's the Street Fighter one, which is like it's supposed to look like a joystick, and then it has like the Hadoken movement, and then you also have like the P button on the side. So the P is your punch button, and then you get the, I guess, curry, it looks like, which is the joystick. The Phoenix Wright one is a bento box with a piece of seaweed on top that has like objection carved into it, and then it comes with a little like thing of blue color dyed tartar sauce, because the bento has like fish on the bottom, and then the red you see is like a layer of red peppers. And then in the middle here you have some paella to represent Leon and Resident Evil. I guess because he goes to Spain, he gets paella. Sure. This one was probably the most appetizing from like a meal standpoint, probably. And then the Monster Hunter one was super cool. You get like a plate with a little grill on it, and then your meat, and it has like a fake bone sticking out of it. Visually, I think the Monster Hunter one looks the coolest, but the Resident Evil one is the best actual meal. For desserts, they had like the Palico or the Amaterasu, like little jelly puddings. They also had a Dante strawberry parfait, which is the one you see in the top middle here. And then the three special drinks were, there was like the Resident Evil one, I think it was like Leon drink, which is like purple. The middle one is like a Dante drink. And then the blue one is a Date Masamune drink, which I was very happy that they even had a Vasara themed drink thing. So you also get coasters, and so we thought the coasters were random, like they are going to be when we go to Eorzea Cafe and Grand Cypher Kitchen, but turns out they're not random. So when you order a dish of that character, you get the accompanying coaster. And you also get the coaster with all the characters on them. So we ordered our dishes, and then we got the coasters, and we're like, whoa, look, we got the characters we wanted. And then we realized, oh, you get the coaster based on what you order, which is nice because it's not random. So we got our drinks. Lork got the Resident Evil one, Kieran got the Devil May Cry one, and I got Basara. The Masamune drink was pretty good. I think it just tasted kind of like lemonade, and then the yellow thing on top, which is like the shape of the moon crest on his helmet, was just like a piece of like fondant. But they were decorated quite well. Nothing special in terms of taste, but they looked pretty. This is the Devil May Cry parfait that Kieran got, and then I also got the Street Fighter churro. So it comes in this little like paper sleeve, and he's doing the Hadoken, and then it's decorated on the end. I kept the piece of paper. I quickly took it off and like brushed off the sprinkles or the sugar. So I actually have the paper, but it's literally just a printout on a piece of paper. It's nothing special, but it's kind of funny. This is the paella, which Lork got. It looked really good, actually. I think, again, like I said, I think this was the best actual meal item. Oh yeah, they also had two other items I didn't show you on the website, but one of them was just potato wedges, which did not have a Capcom specific branding. It was just potato wedges. And then the other one was, there was like a white bow, and I think it was also like Monster Hunter theme, but it wasn't decorated. It was just a white bow bun. So me and Kieran both got the Ace Attorney bentos. So here it is. Mine's closed with the lid on top, and then Kieran's is with the lid off, just to show you what it looked like. It was just a bento box, seaweed on top, objection carved into it. Underneath was a layer of red peppers. Underneath that was rice with some fish, and then some blue tartar sauce on the side. And I'll be honest, and Kieran can agree with me this, it was not very good. Like, it wasn't like awful, but it was like, I wouldn't order it again. The rice was just like regular rice. The fish wasn't really that good. I would argue that maybe the fish wasn't even that good. It visually looked really cool. Taste-wise, yeah, don't get it. So unless you want the Phoenix Wright coaster really badly, probably not a great meal item, but looked cool. Here's the bento box close up. Again, props for decoration though and creativity, not for taste. I think both me and Kieran, we didn't finish our bento boxes. We didn't finish it. Plus, we also each had like one or two desserts, so that made up for it. These were super cute. These were super cute. I think the Amaterasu one really blew me away because it has, if you look closely, one single edamame. It was like a candied edamame too, and the edamame represents Isan, which I thought was so cute. The Jello didn't really taste like anything. It was just literally just dyed gelatin. Like if you've ever been to like dim sum and you get Jello from dim sum, the Jello, even though it's colored very colorfully, like it's not actually like lemon flavored Jello or orange flavored Jello. It's literally most of the time just gelatin with food coloring, so it doesn't actually have much taste. So the Jello didn't have much taste, but it looked really cute. The the pudding thing itself was tasty. It tasted like coconut jelly or like coconut pudding. And then there was also like a layer of like some, I think some like crackers or like pudding and stuff inside the bottom of the cup. But it visually looked very cute. And the edamame was very good too. It was like soaked in juice or something like that, so it tasted really sweet. So yeah, the restaurant was pretty nice. Of course, it was like a restaurant in like a museum normally. So, and it was also empty. It was almost 8 p.m. There was no one else there. Oh yeah, there was also like a drink section where you could also go to the drink bar if you paid, and then the drink was it was just a bunch of different drinks with different colors, and they had different labels on them. Like they had like the different Resident Evil herbs on top of them, like the green herb drink, the red herb drink. There was like a couple other ones, like a Mega Man Power drink or whatever. But they were basically just, it looked like dyed water that you could mix yourself at the drink fountain, but it looked cool. So this is the pamphlet they gave us when we went into the museum. These are the two coasters that I got. So we each got a coaster that had all the characters on it, and then we got the coaster of the meal that we got. So I got Phoenix Wright. And then they also gave us like a commemorative little like sticker thing for buying tickets. As we were leaving, of course, the place was still like ghost town. On the bottom floor, there was a security robot, so I had to take a picture of it. It was just sitting there quietly with its cameras on and humming with like the sound of electricity, but and those little buttons that push to call on it. But I thought it was cute, a little security robot. So by the time we left, it was just past like, it was around 8 p.m. And we still have a little bit of time left in the day. So like I said earlier, in day 4, Lork wanted to go find that Baroque game, the Nintendo Switch version of it, which is Japanese only, and we were unable to find it in Ikebukuro, but Kieran looked online and found that there was a shop in Shinjuku that was selling it, that had it listed on their website. So we decided to go take a little trip to Shinjuku. And Shinjuku was a bit different than most of the other areas we've been to at this point, because Shinjuku was a little bit more seedy than some of the other areas we've been to. And honestly, when I say seedy, like it was shady compared to other areas of Tokyo we've been to, but compared to like anywhere in North America, it was very tame. Like if you compare nightlife in like any like downtown core in any North American city, it was like way shadier than anything you'd find in Shinjuku. But for comparison by anything in Tokyo, it just seemed a little bit shadier, but honestly not that much of a problem. We also saw this train, one of the double-decker trains on the way there. Pretty cool looking. Most of the time, I think if you want the seats on the double-decker area of the trains, they're usually reserved, so you have to buy tickets for them, but it looked cool. Yeah, basically Shinjuku was just like, oh yeah, there was some cigarette smoke here and there, maybe a little bit of garbage, maybe a few people on the street trying to get you to go into their ramen shops. Like, it wasn't really that shady. We found this place, I had to take a picture of it, Egg Slut. Apparently this is a chain of restaurants. I've just never seen it before, but apparently there's a chain that I think you can get. I think there's some in North America too, but I have not seen them. This is just across from the train station, and also on the train station the street right outside the train station, there was uh, a girl singing karaoke, and she had her like guitar case open where you could give her tips and whatnot, and she was very good at singing. There were a lot of people standing around her, and then there was also like someone filming her as well, in addition to a lot of people just had their phones out filming her too. But she was singing with a microphone outside the train station very well. So we stopped to listen to her for a little bit, and then we kept going. So we found this store. It's like electronics and figurines and collector's items all combined together. So we go inside, and they have a whole bunch of like video game merch and stuff. So we're taking pictures. I found like Minecraft merch, specifically the Minecraft frog, which I thought was really cute. So I had to take a picture of it as well. So this place has a lot of stuff, depending on which floor you were going on. It was late at night, and they were going to close soon, so we weren't able to explore everything, and we didn't come here to look at absolutely everything. But you can see there was a lot of stuff here. We found a physical copy of Sadop, which was cool. So if you know Sadop, we played this on the channel with our friend Onario, and Onario was one of the people who worked on this game, which is super cool. So see it in person here was pretty neat. And we also found the Baroque game that Lork was looking for. So again, Baroque is like a PS2 game that was remade for the Nintendo Wii, and recently got a Nintendo Switch remaster that was Japanese only. So he wanted to get the Japanese only Nintendo Switch remaster. So we finally found it. Spoiler alert, when we went back to our room and Lork popped it into his Nintendo Switch, it was a little underwhelming. I think it's actually a port of the PS2 version and not the Wii version, so it looks older than it is. But collector's item. Limited collector's item straight from Japan. Also, some games actually had labels on them that showed you which languages they were in, which was neat. So here's Octopath Traveler, and it shows you which languages are available in the game, which is neat. There was a giant Mario with a bunch of amiibos around him as well. Oh, it was a port of the OG Saturn version, not even the PS2 version. So it was pretty janky, huh, Lork? That's unfortunate. Oh, the PS2 version was basically like the Wii version. So it was a port of the Saturn version. Oh gosh. Fun. I saw my boy Astrobot. Had to take a picture of him. Saw some Pikachu headphones. Saw some Fire Emblem merch, actually. Up till now, we really hadn't seen any Fire Emblem merch anywhere, actually, at all. Some Trail stuff as well, some Metal Gear. We saw some Gallade and Gardevoir plushies. Some Animal Crossing plushies as well. Very cute. The Lily plushie's really cute. Raymond. Marshall. Some Pikmin plushies as well. So we walk back, and of course, on the way back, we saw Kieran's nemesis, another Gigo. So we stopped by a little bit, and Kieran, for the second time today, attempts to get the Minato acrylic. Spoiler alert, he did not get it. At this location. So at this point, Kieran is his major op is Gigo and Minato, and so every time we see a Gigo from now on, he starts fuming because of all the money he spent trying to get the Minato acrylic. But a lot of people still playing at the arcades late at night, of course. Quite a nightlife there as well. We saw another guy who was here trying to get some Zenless Zone Zero acrylics, and he was there before we got there, so he'd been there for quite a while, and he'd been trying for so long. Eventually, I think he asked the store employee to come around and help him reset the machine because he had moved the acrylic into an inopportune location. So the guy came around and repositioned the item he wanted to make it easier for him to get, and then left him. He continued trying for a couple more times, still couldn't get it, and I guess the employee felt bad for him because the employee came back and then repositioned it again a second time to make it even easier for him to get. I have no idea how much money he spent on it, probably like a lot. He finally gets it. And so I thought that once he got it, he would leave, right? Because he probably wasted a whole bunch of money and time on it. So he takes the thing, he puts it away, and then immediately turns around and starts playing another crane game. And I'm like, whoa, he's not giving up. But we also notice that he's carrying like a suitcase with him. So I'm just wondering, like, is he maybe like a scalper? Because I know people do that too, where they go to crane games and arcades and win things and then resell them for more. But I don't know. I was just very surprised to see him finally get his item after so many tries, after 2 times of asking the clerk to, well, the first time he asked, the second time the clerk did it on a whim to help him get the item, and then continue going at it afterwards. I would just be like giving up after that.